Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to vote aye on this legislation. We are taking up this bill today because of the hard work and tireless efforts of Koji Sato, Tak Furumoto, and Carolyn Furumoto, who I mentioned earlier, who have dedicated much of their lives to advocating for the recognition of Japanese American history and the contributions of Japanese Americans to the United States. By establishing January 30th as Fred Korematsu Day of Civil Liberties and the Constitution, we are affirming this state's commitment to learning and teaching about the difficult history of Japanese internment camps. In 1942, the United States forced West Coast residents of Japanese descent to leave their homes and communities to be sent to internment camps for the duration of the war. According to the United States National Archives, over 120,000 people of Japanese descent, 70,000 of whom were American citizens, were forcibly moved to these camps. Fred Korematsu, who we are honoring in this bill, was born to Japanese immigrant parents. He refused to leave his home when his family was forced to relocate to an internment camp. He was arrested, convicted in a federal court of disobeying a military order, and sent to a relocation internment camp. He appealed his conviction, but the United States Supreme Court ultimately affirmed it in Korematsu versus the United States. In dissenting from the Supreme Court's ruling, Justice Robert Jackson said Korematsu, quote, has been convicted of an act not commonly a crime. It consists merely of being present in the state whereof he is a citizen, near the place where he was born, and where all his life he has lived. Justice Frank Murphy called the exclusion order the legalization of racism. After the war, when Mr. Korematsu was released from the internment camp, he began his life as a civil rights advocate fighting for the Japanese Americans who were deeply wronged during the war. In 1984, his case was reopened and his conviction was overturned, but the United States Supreme Court never officially overruled its ruling in Korematsu. When the U.S. offered him a pardon, he responded, I don't want a pardon. If anything, I should be pardoning the government. He was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in 1998. Today, in the face of a rise in anti-Asian hate and other forms of hate and discrimination, we stand united and advocate that we must tell the painful history of discrimination and mistreatment of Japanese Americans. I want to thank my colleague, Assemblymember Grace Lee, who's carrying this bill in the Assembly. I'm grateful for the work of our guests here today, who, as I said, not only educated me, but have advocated across many states to pass this bill. If the Assembly passes this bill and the governor signs it, New York will join 6 other states, New Jersey, Hawaii, California, Virginia, Michigan, and Arizona, in recognizing January 30th as Fred Korematsu Day. I am proud to sponsor this legislation. Thank you to my colleagues and the leader for bringing it to the floor so quickly this year, and I vote aye.